So at the recent budget debate in Parliament, the Prime Minister announced that effective June 1, the national minimum wage will increase by 44%. How will this move affect the business community? President of the Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise MSME Alliance, Donovan Wignall, joins us now to share his thoughts. Welcome, Mr. Wignall.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners. Good morning.
I first of all want to... That's okay, yes. I want to start off by asking about the process. So we know that consultations were had. Were you part of those consultations when a decision was arrived at in coming to the national minimum wage, the new national minimum wage?
Well, I can't recall being a part of the consultations, come up with a number, certainly. But dialogue was being had, within the sector about the new minimum wage. Not about its impact, but about more about what number would be arrived at based on the current cost of living.
And based on the number arrived at, Sir Wignall, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? It is not going to make a significant difference. A short survey I did with our members and other people, a small canvas, and majority of the people, majority of the SMEs are already paying above the minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
There are some who are going to be impacted. I think about 20% that showed up in the survey that will be impacted because they are going to have to increase what they're paying their staff. But for the most part, majority of us are already paying at the minimum wage. So, the exercise was just for academic purposes, really.
Yeah, you said it, you don't think it's going to move the needle very much. What would have been a livable wage for you, speaking on behalf of the entity? Do you think the government landed, 44%, I guess if your baseline is what it is, it doesn't move the needle very much. But where do you think the government ought to have landed?
All right. So, firstly, I think the figure arrived at, it should be medium data driven. And if you're going to...
Are you saying it was not?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because if you look at the PIOJ figures and what is the wage that would allow folks so affected to purchase their, basket of goods that could feed their family for a week, we're nowhere near there. So the figure itself, while good, because some people will get an increase in their wages, security guards being a part of that, it is not going to make a significant difference in the cost of living or the standard of life for the people who are going to get an increase. If you do this, a short back of the envelope calculation of what it costs somebody who's earning the minimum wage or less or more, a little bit more, to come to work, eat lunch, feed their family, buy groceries, give the kids our lunch money, pay the light and the water bill, and probably if they're paying rent, you realize that they're already in the territory already. So it's nowhere near enough that would allow somebody to live comfortably. It will still be a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So to come up with a magic figure to say, okay, it's $15,000 or $20,000 per week to get at that figure that would cause somebody to live reasonably comfortable. 13,000 nowhere near there. So there won't be significant difference 3 or 4 months from now, because when you go to the supermarket, every week the prices increase. You're gonna be paying more for groceries. You're gonna be paying more for light next week. You're gonna pay more for water. So prices are constantly increasing. So inflation, invisible inflation, generally erodes your income.
Yeah.
Significantly over a period of time. So between now and the end of the year, if you check fuel prices, if you check, utilities, etc., we would have gone way past where we are now.
Your own thoughts, sir, on what would be an ideal minimum wage?
All right, so let's benchmark. Look at baseline. So a household helper, you'll ask yourself, how much would you pay your household helper? Or if you're going to advertise for a household helper and you have people coming in, how much would you be willing to pay that person to come in, look after your 2 children, cook for you, and do all of that? And if they're not living in, to go home every day. Incidentally, we did that exercise about 3 weeks ago. And the minimum a household helper would take to come in to work in a household is $15,000. And guess how much people were willing to pay that helper to come in? Someone who came highly recommended. It's $15,000. So if you look at what a lot of people are getting, say for example, at the call center without overtime, then it hovers around $15,000 or a little bit more.
Oh, really?
So I would say if you benchmark at about 15 grand, I think you'll probably make a little difference at that level. And I said to myself on a radio interview, I think last week, that I think the figure would have been $15,000. Of course, a lot of decisions that are made regarding wages and salary increases, etc., a lot of times are more politically driven than reality driven. So,
is the 15,000 more in line with the PIOJ report that you referenced, Sir Wignall?
Yeah, pardon me, Simone?
Is the $15,000 more in line with the PIOJ report that you would have referenced earlier?
Yeah, I can't recall how much the PIOJ said it was a livable wage, but I think $15,000, and I'm benchmarking against what somebody pays a household helper.
Gotcha. Okay, understood.
To do the job.
Understood.
And I just want to add that the $15,000 is in line with what the Jamaica Household Workers Union, they had been advocating for. We have a quote here from Miss Elaine Duncan, who said, although the extra $2,000 is shy of the $15,000 that they believe that it is the ideal figure. She says that it is close enough to an adequate income, and which is why I had initially started off with the process on how we arrive at determining or making a decision about minimum wage. We're going to be here again, Simone. Mr. Wignall, do you have any recommendation on how we should go forward when we make such an important decision such as this? Very quickly.
Well, for me and a lot of people in our organizations, we set salaries with conscience. So if you're going to employ somebody, you want that person reasonably, I wouldn't say happy, but to be able to come back to work without have to call in sick the last 3 or 4 days of the week or of the fortnight, and not because they're sick, but because they can't afford to come back to work. You have to set the salaries within that range. That will prevent that sort of things. So, the exercise itself, doing it with conscience, I think would be the way to go. A lot of us have people working for us that are quite miserable and unhappy. And
Facts.
in some ways have to develop a side hustle. To actually come back to work. So
to live.
You have to think on those lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we have to go. Thank you so much for your insight. We have to wrap it up. We're getting the wrap up.
President of the Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise MSME Alliance, Donovan Wignall, thank you so much for joining us. After the break, we recognize World Down Syndrome Day. Please stay with us.